Hey everyone. I know this is late, but I got a request from let's see, a YouTuber called An Atheist World to make a video on Black culture and history and my ideas on religion. So I'm just going to entertain this request and talk about these topics. And he left a comment on my video that was about how the native indigenous Egyptians are Black. Um, hey, the great one. I'm so happy you're on here. Okay, so maybe you can ask some questions to help facilitate the discussion. But I got a request from someone on my video about the video that I entitled "Real Egyptians Are Black." The original Egyptians were Black, right? And he wanted me to make a video about, I guess, just like global Black culture, global Black history. Okay, so yes, the great one. So the great one says, I was watching Ethiopian music videos and they are so similar to all of us. So here's the thing. Here's the thing about global Black culture. It is a thing, right? No matter where you go, people who originate from Africa all share a common ancestry. Black people were the first people to exist, period. Point blank, period, right? White people did not exist when the first people came about on this earth, right? No other people, no other race of people existed. The first people to ever come about, to ever exist on earth were Black, and they came from Africa. Now, I've been getting a lot of backlash on the videos I make about how native indigenous Egyptians were and are Black. I mean, if we use common sense and if we use logic, how could they be anything else if the first human beings, period, came from Central to South Africa? Like, I mean, how? How is that possible? Right? How could they be Asian? People like to claim that they were Asian. People like to claim that they were European. People like to claim that they were anything but Black. But how could they be anything else but Black if the first human beings to ever exist came from Central or South Africa? And there's proof of this, right? I mean, all of the vast majority of the modern day biologists, evolutionary biologists, and anthropologists and archaeologists who do the work of digging up ancient ruins mostly are white. Don't you think they are feverishly looking for human remains that are older than the ones found in Africa? Of course they are. A lot of excavation sites are in Europe. A lot of excavation sites are in Asia, but they have yet to find any Homo sapien remains that are older than the Homo sapien remains they have found in Africa. Okay, so the great one says the history is well documented. They were definitely Black. Even their deities originate in Sudan, Nubia, Kush, and Jebel Berkel. Okay. So the Gardenian Moon says the original Asians were Black. I looked it up. Yeah, I mean, honestly, okay. So since the first human beings that ever existed on Earth were Black, the first people to migrate out of Africa and to populate Asia, to populate Europe, to populate Australia, to populate America, the Americas, North and South Americas, were obviously Black. As time progressed, their phenotypes and their features and their physical features changed. But the original people have always been Black. Point blank, period. And it's amazing when I see people on my channel arguing tooth and nail saying, no, the first Egyptians weren't Black. They weren't Black. How could they not be Black when, number one, Egypt is in Africa, and number two, the first human beings, period, were Black? Like, I just don't understand. Like other races of people did not exist until Black Africans left the continent of Africa and migrated to other continents, and then they changed, right? Their phenotype, their physical features changed. So I mean, I just don't understand the logic behind people who argue and say that the indigenous people of an African country are not Black when the first people, period, were Black. And you have all these old white men admitting that the first human beings, period, were Black. I mean, there is an evolutionary biologist at Cornell University. Cornell University is an Ivy League school. It's top 1% of the universities in the world. There is an evolutionary biologist here who point blank said that any human being that is not African is not 100% Homo sapien. So a lot of Asians, a lot of Europeans have partial Neanderthal DNA in them because the only pure whole Homo sapiens are descendants of Africans. Okay, now let me just see what these comments are talking about. So the one says, yes, they were two that I knew of Japan. Okay, National Deputy 9000 says, if ancient Egyptians were Africans, then European civilization is nothing but a derivation of African achievements, and they know that. That's why they deny it, of course. The Great One says, the people of West Papua are still Black today. The Great One says, the Tasmanians were... genocided by British Australians. They were jet Black as well. The Great One says the people denying are willfully ignorant. Of course they are. Of course. I mean, there's just so much proof. And a lot of the non-Black people who are arguing about this topic, you know, they don't want to admit that people in their own cultural group or people in their own racial or ethnic group, very renowned scholars, archaeologists, scientists have come out and said that the first human beings were Black. They came from Africa. And if you do not have African lineage, it is impossible that you are 100% Homo sapien, because the people who have pure human genetics came from Africa. Right? If you are of European or Asian descent, the likelihood of you having some type of Neanderthal lineage is higher. They've done testing already, they've done sampling. And it's really frustrating. No matter where you go in the world, you will see a Black population. We can think about Brazil. We can think about Latin America, Brazil and Latin America. Let's think about that for a second. So Latin America, we're talking about Central America, starting from Mexico all the way down to Argentina, right? That whole area, including the Caribbean, including Cuba, including Jamaica, including the Dominican Republic, Haiti, this whole area, you know, scholars have done research. They have found that 60% of the people in this whole area are of African descent. 60%. The majority of the people living in Latin America are of African descent, but they get no type of representation at all. Right? When we see, if we Google Brazilians right now, we'll see a whole bunch of fair-skinned, light-haired people. We will not see people who look like Africans, unfortunately, even though they make up the majority of the population in these places. Okay, now let me read some of these comments. The people denying are willful. Okay, so National Deputy 9000 says there's no biological basis for the concepts Black and white. There is no Black gene. There's people in India and Sri Lanka that are Blacker skinned than African Americans and people in Africa. Black skin is the original skin color. Black is only attributed to West Africans and African Americans because of slavery and colonialism. That is a very interesting point, and I've seen it. I mean, that's true. There are a lot of Asians who have much darker skin, but somehow they're not considered Black. But however, on the other side of your point, National Deputy 9000, on the other side of your point, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your race, darker skin is condemned and it is not as appreciated as lighter skin. You know, like through the propaganda, through media, we are made to believe that darker skin is somehow inferior and lighter skin is somehow superior. These are the messages that we are being fed on a day-to-day basis. And we just have to understand and remember who controls the media and who is manning and creating this type of messaging, right? And maybe think about ways in which we can influence the media so that a more truthful and holistic perspective can be shared with the world. Okay. All right, so this crazy person, this troll, Offset Asar. Why are you being a troll, man? Why are you being a troll? He is saying that the wet dog's my bed, blah, blah, blah. Blacker the meat, the sweeter the treat. Dr. Ben. Okay. All right, you're being a troll. You're being a troll. All right, so National Deputy 9000 says contemporary Eurocentric academia and science agrees that Egyptians originate in Africa and we're biologically African. They just don't use modern terms like black and white, so they won't say black. Right, they won't say it, but we know that's what they were. I mean, okay, so think about this. Think about this. White people, right, and you're right, you're absolutely right, National Deputy 9000. Black and white, these racial identities and racial groups are social constructs 100%. And social constructs evolve and they change over the years, over the decades, over the centuries, over the millennium, right? However, we can't escape the fact that there's just so much work and so much effort into displacing, ideologically displacing Egypt from Africa. Like they are trying their best to remove Egypt from the continent of Africa and disassociating Egypt with anything African, right? They try so hard, but no matter how hard they try, you know, the ruins speak for themselves. The afros, the braids, the dark skin that you see the ancient Egyptians depicting themselves as. Right? I mean, it speaks for themselves. It speaks for itself. Like, but they try so hard to deny this truth. The Great One says we have to be our own media sources. That's true. I agree. And this is one of the main reasons why I started my channel, right? Like, I started my channel because I'm like, you know what? There's so many lies that are being circulated. At least, you know, and by no means, as of right now, by no means is my channel like huge, right? But one day, you never know what could happen. But at least I'm doing my little part in spreading content and spreading media that can give a more holistic and non-Eurocentric view on the topic, right? On these topics in general. Thank you, The Great One. So The Great One says, you are a part of it, the new Black media. Oh, thank you, The Great One. You're so nice to me. Thank you. Offset Asar says, okay, since I'm a troll. Bye. See you later. The Great One says she's trying to keep it intellectual. The insults may take away from the facts being stated. Yeah, definitely. I have blocked so many people on my channel because they offer no evidence. Like they just provide no evidence. They'll say no. The native people of Egypt were not Black, but they will provide no evidence. So it's like, okay, I have already provided evidence. Where is the evidence that you were providing? And they can't provide anything. They can't provide any proof, any evidence. So the God King Dorel says, years ago when the top scientists were unlocking the human genome, they went around the world and tested 115 groups to find out their DNA series. Non-African people came out to 6 and Africans came out to 9. The God King Dorel, I don't know exactly what those numbers mean. I don't know what they signify, but if you could explain what 6 means and what 9 means, that would be very helpful. I don't know what that means. And Taharka, Saharka Mansa says, Dr. Abadele Kamdan. And that's it. I don't know. Do you want to continue that comment? I don't know. So the God King Durrell says the study is called the Global Patterns of Linkage Disequilibrium at the CD4 locus in modern human origins. Interesting. It's crazy. But okay, so let me here's another really big point that I'd like to make. So of course there are a lot of haters on my channel, especially on the videos about the native indigenous Egyptians being African and being Black, right? However, one of the things that I really want to touch on when we talk about global Black culture is that what personally makes me really sad is when there is this disconnect between Black men and Black women. So I have personally observed Black men, particularly in elite spaces. I have observed Black men value and prioritize non-Black women before Black women. And so the reason why this is really disturbing to me is because in the world that we live in, it is easier for men to secure work and to create wealth, right? Because the species, like men are the providers and the protectors, and women are the nurturers, right? These are the gender roles that are pretty much supported by our DNA and our makeup and the dominant hormones we have. So if women have estrogen as their dominant hormone and men have testosterone as their dominant hormone, naturally we will have different tendencies and different strengths. And when I see Black men going out working really hard, making all this money, giving that wealth to non-Black women who already have men who will take care of them, like Asian women, Latina women, work hard for them and who will protect them and who will provide for them. And you have Black women who are holding down the fort for everyone. We have matriarchal cultures, matriarchal systems set up in our culture. And then we don't have Black men doing that work for us. And to see a Black man go out, create wealth, and just hand it to a white woman is very painful. It's so disappointing. It's disgusting, actually. And it's just like, I don't know why they do that. So that's the other point that I'd like to bring up and talk about. Okay, so I'm going to go back and start reading comments. So it says National Deputy 9000 says early Egyptologists knew Egyptians were Africans and were mostly connected to East Africans, Horn of Africa, like Ethiopians, Somalians. That's why they labeled East Africans Caucasian. Oh, that's annoying. That's super annoying. Okay, the Great One says yes, they have. Okay, National Deputy 9000 says notice how people like Bob Marley and Obama were always seen treated as Black despite their mixed ancestry, light skin. You only have to be nighttime Black to be Black African when Egyptians come up. That's true. That's very true. Anytime somebody looks like they have any type of just slightly mixed heritage, oh, when it comes to Egypt, okay, they're not Black. They're not really Black. But right. But honestly, if you ever get to go to Egypt, like I have lived in Egypt for 2.5 years, and when you go to Southern Egypt, guess what? They are super dark skinned. They're dark skinned, they have dreads, they have afros, and they will tell you that they're Black. They will tell you that they're African. They will tell you that they're not Arab. They will tell you that they speak Arabic because Arabs colonized Egypt. They will tell you. It's not a secret. It's not a secret down there. But that area, that piece of Egypt, that region of Egypt is marginalized on purpose, because all these people will straight up tell everybody that they are not Arab, they are not Turkish, they are not Asian, they're not your Asian, they are black. They will tell you to your face that they are black. So if you ever go to Egypt, make sure you go to southern Egypt and see all the temples and see what Egypt actually looked like. Because if you go to Cairo, Cairo has been colonized by the Ottomans, by the Turks, by the Arabs, by the Greeks, by the Romans, by the English, by the French. It has been colonized by everyone. Southern Egypt, on the other hand, which is Upper Egypt, has not. It's a lot more untouched, and it's a lot more authentic. And you really do feel like you are coming into contact with what ancient Egypt used to be. I remember I was sailing on the Nile on a very simple sailboat, and casually, there are rocks on the side, and I saw hieroglyphics on the rocks. You will not see anything like that in Cairo. Nothing. Nothing like that. So the Great One says they'll call you a Caucasian if you were Egyptian. It's insane. They moved the Black Egyptians to displace them when they built the Aswan Dam. Very disrespectful. I mean, they knew what they were doing, right? The colonizers knew what they were doing. They were trying very hard to disassociate Egypt with the rest of Africa, so therefore they could lay claim to the land and look somewhat legitimate. The God King Darrell says you have to go to Aswan area. The God King Darrell, I've already been to Egypt. I've been to Aswan. I've been to Upper Egypt. I've been to Lower Egypt, which is Cairo and Alexandria. I've been to Sinai, the Sinai Peninsula. I've been all around the country. I used to live there. Was it expensive living in Egypt? National Deputy 9,000. It was very, very, very cheap. My expenses never went over $400 a month. It was very cheap, super cheap. It's a super cheap place to live. The Siwa Oasis also has dark-skinned Egyptians. Yeah, I mean, come on, it's the desert. It's the desert. They have darker skin than me. A lot of Egyptians have much darker skin than me, but somehow they're not black. I don't know how that works. That's in North Egypt, but that's in North Egypt, but isolated from Cairo and other modern areas. Yeah. But regardless of that, right? So, okay. So now let's think about something else. Let's think about how Europeans, so let's think about how Europeans who come from France, Europeans who come from England, namely Britain, namely, will claim ancient Roman and ancient Greek ancestry, even though they're very, very, very different cultures. Let's think about that. Let's think about that. Let's think about how all of Europe will claim ancient Greek and ancient Roman culture as some type of as like European culture, right? This is Europe. We're white. This is Europe. This is all European culture. They will claim it even though they do not come from what is modern day Rome, which is Italy, and they don't come from Greece. But they will claim it. They will claim that ancient culture, even though those ancient cultures actually originate from Africa. But they will claim this ancient culture and say it is theirs, even though they don't have any type of link or lineage to Greece or Italy or Rome or whatever. But when Black people do the same thing and they say, hey, Egypt is a part of a global African, a global Black culture, somehow what we're doing is wrong and it's cultural appropriation. No, it is not cultural appropriation. It is not. It is a part of a global Black and a global African diasporic culture. People love to try to pull Egypt away from Africa. You can't do that. So the God King Darrell says, I've been all over myself in most of Africa. I've been all over myself. And great. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm so glad. It's important to travel. I'm glad you've traveled, especially in Egypt, so you could see what the native people look like for yourself. It's important. Darrell Mfum says, "Have you been to my boy, um, Akhenaton, once holy city?" I don't think I have, but I definitely have seen his statues in museums. The Great One says, right. The Great One says Trump was boasting about Rome with the president of Finland a few like they have no relationship with Rome at all, but they will claim it, and it's okay for them to claim ancient Roman and ancient Greek history, even though they have absolutely no business doing that. If we don't have any business claiming other African countries as a part of global African diasporic culture, then they don't have any business claiming other European cultures, other ancient European cultures as a global European or white culture, right? They have no business doing that. It makes no sense. I don't understand that. Okay, but so you said Trump is of German descent, but didn't the Germanic tribes go to war with Rome? Didn't Rome enslave, ancient Rome enslaved Germanic tribes? Right? So why are people of Germanic descent claiming Roman history? Porky Crab says, yeah, they're all Europeans. Guess what? We're all Africans, honey. If Europeans can do that, then don't come at black people, other descendants of Africans. Don't come at us talking about we can't claim ancient Egyptian history as a part of the global African diasporic culture or global black culture. If they can do it, then we can do it. What's the difference? So the Great One says, yes, they did. National Deputy 9000 says, everyone from Europe is one big monolith, and they all get to claim ancient Greece and Rome. Doesn't matter where they come from in Europe. Africa is only mixed diverse, not Europe. You didn't know. Right. The Great One says they sold their own people, right? Now remember, we cannot forget. I mean, have you guys? I can't remember what it was. I think on the History Channel they had this documentary about ancient Romans and how they just colonized every place. They colonized large pieces of Europe. They colonized large pieces of Africa, right? And they talked about how they would rape and pillage villages in Europe, particularly Germanic tribes, and how the Germanic tribes they did not identify as Romans, but now all of a sudden, it's 2000, whatever, like later on, now it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna claim. Everybody wants to claim Roman and Greek culture, but somehow Black people are cultural appropriators for claiming Egyptian culture, even though that's not what we're really doing. What we're saying is that they were African and not Asian or European, as many liars would like to make us believe that they were Asian or European, when it's obvious that they were not. Because the first people, period, the first human beings, period, did not come from Asia or Europe. They came from Africa. They came from Black Africa, period. The God King Darrell says, check your IG DM. I sent you a link to my other channel and a video explaining the DNA series and what it really means and why it is not suppressed. Okay, I'll check that out, and I might actually, I'll check it out, and I might make a video about it. Let me see. Let's see. So the Great One makes a really good point. He says the Romans warred and enslaved the Gauls, France, Visigoths, Spain, Anglo-Saxons, Britain, Germanics, Germany, Nords, Finland, but all these descendants will claim Greece and Rome. Yes, honey, it's true. They will. They will, even though the Romans oppressed them, made them slaves. Made them slaves. Okay, so Darrell Infum says the ancient Kemites, Egyptians, and African Americans looked just alike. Europeans knew who they brought over here during the slave trade. Mm. Great one. It's a huge thing. They are aliens. They'll do anything to avoid admitting they were black. Oh yeah, anything, honey. They will do anything to avoid saying that they were black. I don't know why. Is it that bad? Is it that bad? Let's see. God King Darrell. Okay. So I got your message, God King Darrell. I got your message. The Great One says that's all the History Channel talks about. Right. So let's see. God King Darrell sent me. He sent me a link. I'm about to see. Okay, I gotta go watch it. Okay, and I'm gonna go subscribe to your channel as well. But I have to. I can't talk about it now because I have to prepare and watch this video beforehand. But oh, so the God King Darrell, his channel is Transatlantic Productions. If y'all want to subscribe, Transatlantic Productions. Okay. But yeah, it's crazy, and we gotta stay woke. Just understand, like, no matter what they say to you, and I mean, like, I really appreciate National Deputy 9000 and the Great One. I see you guys all the time fighting these white supremacist trolls. But you know, it's sad that a lot of people don't know the truth, and they will read these comments and actually believe these racists, right? They will believe that somehow magically the native and indigenous people of an African country weren't black, right? I don't even know how that works. The God King Darrell says, our DNA is the most diverse on the planet compared to other people on the planet. Yes, 100%. That is why every race comes from Africa, right? When the first indigenous Africans left the African continent and moved into other continents, that was the beginning of the creation of other races and other ethnicities. Let's see. So the God King Darrell, Transatlantic. I'm trying to follow his channel. Transatlantic Productions. Okay. Ooh, you've been hustling. You got 500 videos. I see that. That's good. Good for you. Good for you. Keep it up. Keep it up. I just subscribed to your channel. Okay, the Great One. I have a documentary I can post called Nubian Spirit that explains the origin, history of Nubia and Kemet and their culture. They were one and the same. Oh yeah, 100%. Thank you, the Great One. I think I should be subscribed to you as well, but if I'm not, I will go and subscribe to you when I get off the live because I'm not able to do it right now. But yeah. Oh yeah, they were definitely honestly, okay, so the Great One, honestly, there is no Egyptian culture without Nubian culture. Nubia came first and foremost. And you see me posting that New York Times article 100% of the time. Like, people love to say, Nubia copied Egypt. No, Egypt copied Nubia. Nubia had the first monarch in the world. The first kingdom in the world. Egypt copied Nubia. Egypt got all of their political organizational knowledge from Nubia, from Black Africans. The Great One says, I have a lot of stuff in my playlist with history and other things. Okay. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and log off now. I'm super tired. I just got back from a holiday party, and I just wanted to get on really quick to talk about a topic that someone suggested. And this is something I'm going to do now. So, anyone, you can leave a comment on any of my videos and ask me to cover a topic, and I will do so. So, please, if you have any suggestions, please let me know. If you want to send me articles for me to talk about, I will do that. I will provide what you guys request, okay? So just let me know. Just make sure you leave comments on my videos, and I will start to create content and create videos based on what you request and what you guys ask for. Okay. Darrell Mfum says there is no evidence of people called Hebrews, but Black Hebrews still claim they were enslaved here. The Great One says the Greek deities all come from the Kemetic they sure do. The Greek deities all come from the Kemetic deities. Even the Pythagorean theorem comes from Ahmose papyrus. Porky Crab says the various craniofacial patterns discernible in Northern Africa are attributable to the agents of microevolution and migration. The Great One says, I recommend the channel Nile Valley History. Great channel. Okay. All right. I will go and subscribe to that. And like I said, again, if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know. Please send me any comments or any suggestions, and I will talk about a topic. And it can be anything, honestly. It doesn't have to be just about the African diaspora. It doesn't have to be just about Egypt. It can be about anything. As you can see, I have videos on a whole bunch of different topics. It can just be about life. But make sure I'm open and just let me know, okay? So thank you guys for coming. I love you guys. And I'll see you next time. I'll see you guys soon, okay? All right, bye. See ya. Bye.